So this would be my second attempt at starting a successful gaming YouTube channel. Now, apologies to everyone who subscribed to my channels to hear me talk about the visuals within movies and TV shows. But to be honest, I feel like I am actually being disingenuous because I'm not talking about where my true passions lie. Gaming has been such a huge inspiration throughout my entire life, ever since the Game & Watch. When I was a little kid in Jamaica, I used to go and sneak into my cousin's room and play his Game & Watch without him knowing. He wanted me to play his Game & Watch, but he never wanted me in his room because I used to always mess around with stuff. From there, I remember playing with little handheld Tiger gaming devices. I don't know if you guys remember those. And eventually, I ended up getting an NES. And then after that, I got a Sega Genesis. And then after that, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, all the way up until PlayStation 5, Xbox, and the Switch. Right? Gaming has been such a huge part of my life. It's literally what's responsible for the work that I make that so many people love. I feel like I am not as passionate with the movies as I am with the games. Gaming has been such a significant part of my life. It's to the point now where I literally am willing to sacrifice other branches of entertainment just so I can play more games, right? I'm not going to sacrifice my art because that's just who I am. I'm an artist. I love making art. The art that you see being made to the left is what I am currently painting. That's my current painting. That is my current painting that I'm currently working on. So this is actually my studio to the left. But anyway, I would like to pivot on this channel. And while I only have 1,000 subscribers, I would like to make that change right now instead of waiting later on, you know, when I eventually get millions of subscribers and then trying to pivot then. I'd rather do it now. So from here on out, I'll be mostly talking about the visuals of video games, the aesthetics, not necessarily the graphics. We'll leave that up to Digital Foundry. I'll be more so talking about the aesthetics that create the games we love. I'm an artist and I feel like developers are artists as well. And I feel like a lot of these developers, especially the old Square Enix developers and the old Nintendo developers, have influenced me so much that I feel like this is the best way to pay homage to a hobby that I absolutely adore. But in this video, I won't be talking about the visuals of any particular video game. I'll be talking about how Final Fantasy VII has impacted my life so much and is still impacting my life so much, especially when dealing with the tragic loss of a dear friend. So to give you a little backstory about how I came in contact with Final Fantasy VII. Back in the 90s, the late 90s, when I was in high school / middle school. Honestly, I don't even remember because I kind of strayed back a couple of years. But back then, being a gamer wasn't like how it was today. Today, you're not really seen as being lame. I know there are a few pockets out there that still live back in the early 2000s and in the teens, right? Who think that, you know, gaming is like this little sideshow Bob thing. No. Gaming is far much more than that. Now my kids think it's cool that I like video games. My wife, she's always been supportive of my gaming hobby. In fact, for my 41st birthday, she bought me a G Cloud just so I can play more of my PS5 and my Xbox. Man, I love that woman so much. But back in the days, back when this game first came out, when I was in middle school and high school, it was frowned upon. Oh, you play video games? That's the kind of look you will get if you dare mention it. In fact, I used to hide the fact that I like video games because I used to think no girl would ever like me. Boy, was I wrong. I was so wrong. Yeah, and I know a lot of you watching this can relate to that. You know, even with people who like comic books, it wasn't as accepted as it is now. Now you can like whatever you want and no one cares anymore. As it should be. As it should be. But anyway, back in those days, I remember coming across this kid in my neighborhood that no one messed with because he was super strong. His name is Shimato. Shimato and I became very good friends, and he is in fact the friend that introduced me to Final Fantasy. Back in those days, we also had the console wars, but console wars were very different from what we have today. Today, it's kind of like, I'm just gonna type bullshit online, back and forth and blah, 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 blah. Back then, you are likely to get thumped in the mouth or punched in the face if you're on the opposite side. Arguments between who's better, Sega Genesis or Sega versus Nintendo. Arguments that involve Sega and Nintendo can turn to blows at the split of a second. Back then, your friends were either Sega friends or Nintendo friends. We didn't really intermingle until I met Shamato. Back then, I used to like Sonic. He was cool, he was edgy. And Nintendo, I used to make fun of them because I used to think Mario was hella lame, sliding down pipes and touching mushrooms. My friend Shamato actually made me come around to really loving Nintendo. Back then, we could only afford one system. I had a Sega Genesis and he had the Super Nintendo. We had to borrow our Super Nintendo from the guy next door, from an older teenager next door that thought video games were kind of lame, but he had a lot of them. And he did like the games, but he was too, hardcore macho to really like admit it. He played them. Why would you have video games if you're not gonna play them? I mean, come on, he had a stack of them. So my brother and I, we got the chance to borrow his Super Nintendo and we kept it for months. And we got to play A Link to the Past. We got to play Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, and the Sega Genesis was no slouch. I love Altered Beast, Earthworm Jim, Golden Axe. I mean, those are like classics. You guys are probably too young to know most of those fondly. But anyway, fast forward a bit. We ended up really bonding over JRPGs. So Shamato and I, along with my little brother, we really bonded over games. And I actually accredit Shamato for actually introducing me to JRPGs in the first place. I always thought JRPGs were a little weird because of the whole turn-based combat. But he explained to me that, man, this is a way you can strategize in the combat. Instead of just walking around tapping a button, you can actually plan out your moves. Things have weaknesses. Things matter. Your choices matter in the combat. And he actually taught me how to play JRPGs. So yeah, we bonded over JRPGs. I remember us liking Chrono Trigger, Xenogears, Breath of Fire, Sikuden, Brave Fencer Musashi, Secret of Mana. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We bonded so well over these games. And I remember us being so excited at the release of Final Fantasy VII. Back then, you didn't have the internet. You couldn't just look up a trailer and actually judge a game before you even get a chance to play it. Back then, you're just looking through magazines, looking at stills. That's all you got was stills. And you got lucky, super lucky, if you saw a commercial. In fact, back then, I remember thinking some commercials didn't actually exist, that some of the guys at school were actually making it up, right? Like a Final Fantasy commercial. Like, you really saw that Final Fantasy commercial? Did you really see the Final Fantasy commercial? Or are you just making it up? You making it up? It was like that. Sometimes you hear some stuff in the game and you didn't really believe it. You didn't have evidence. You couldn't just look up stuff on your phone back then. Back then, you had to take their word for it. Another thing, when Final Fantasy first came out, we couldn't afford games like that. So we ended up borrowing a lot of games. I did not get Final Fantasy on the first day. I think it was a good 6 to 7 months after the game came out where my friend Shamato procured the first disc and we were over the moon. But shortly thereafter, after beating the first disc, we realized, dang, we don't have this 2 because the kid who owns this 1 is still playing the game. So we had to wait like a good 2 months afterwards. And again, Shamato procured this 2 and 3. And man, I remember the summer that happened, we played Final Fantasy VII non-stop. We beat the game. We beat the weapons. We found all the chocobos. We did all of that. We did the whole 9 yards. His favorite character was Red 13 and Barrett. I always liked Aerith. I thought Aerith was incredible. In fact, I remember an argument we got into because we were trying to figure out Aerith's true purpose. And we actually almost got into a fight, like a physical fight, to the point where we had to walk on separate sides of the street because we had a different philosophy over the purpose of Aerith, right? And now I think back on it, he was actually right. He was actually right. Now, fast forward a little bit. So time went on. We went to 2 different high schools. I got into an art magnet school. I went to art college. He went into the military. After college, I remember going to his house and we got into a conversation, and I was kind of bummed out because he said he no longer plays video games. He no longer plays video games, and that kind of crushed me because honestly, I felt like he would enjoy a lot of the RPGs that I played, because the root of those RPGs are still prominent in a lot of games today. And I know he would really love that, especially things like customizing nowadays. Whew, man. Now, unfortunately, my dear friend lost his life in 2022. And honestly, Final Fantasy has really helped me come to grips with him not being here anymore. Good thing is he got a chance to see Remake. So he did get a chance to see it, but he never played Remake. 2022 was a rough year for me. Not only did I lose my dear friend Shimado, I also lost my grandfather. And death is just a part of life. In fact, if you really know the true theme of Final Fantasy, then you know that death is an integral part of that story. I thought it was very ironic that the same game that bonded us was the same game that's helping me cope with his death. So I played Remake on the PS4 and I completed Remake. His death came after. So in order for me to play Rebirth, it was really rough. Rebirth, I think, came out in January. And honestly, I never thought that I would get this far, but I'm currently playing Rebirth and it's really helping me a lot. And the thing about it is, it's weird because memories just pop back in my head. I remember exact bosses we were struggling with back then that look so magnificent nowadays. So the thing is Rebirth actually feels a bit therapeutic for me, because the music, the combat, even certain lines I remember reading when I was younger, and they bring back so many memories. And through those memories, I'm getting that connection with my friend again, and I think it's amazing. So my friend Shimado was also an artist, but he didn't go to art school. As I said, he went into the military, and he used to draw a lot. He used to draw a lot of Dragon Ball Z characters, and I wish I saved one of his drawings, because he used to give me a ton of his drawings, but over time I lost them. Not only was Final Fantasy VII intrinsic to our friendship, but it is also intrinsic to the way I make art. So while I'm developing as an artist, Final Fantasy is also developing, right? I mean, if you look at the original Final Fantasy VII and you look at the remake, they almost look like two completely different games. In fact, I would argue that they are at this point completely different. And I feel like it's so fitting that the whole Rebirth remake, it has to do with our memory of Final Fantasy VII, the new and the original, right? You know, the whispers, they exist for a reason. Even within art, Final Fantasy has had such a huge influence. A lot of my work has clouds. A lot of my work has the big grandiose, like some kind of last boss in a Final Fantasy game, right? I just merge that with other things that I find super inspirational, and I try to make the best work I possibly can. And till this day, Final Fantasy is still inspiring me. Just last night, I was messing around once again in the Gold Saucer. I think I'm addicted to that place, but man, is that place gorgeous. And literally all of the environments are gorgeous. See, I said we're not going to talk about visuals, and it's so hard not to do that. But don't take games for granted. A lot of people sacrifice years of their lives developing a game that you love, developing games that we love, right? So appreciate them, play them. Don't be ashamed of liking a game. No matter what it is. I am 41 years old, happily married, 2 kids, wife, dog, house, all of that. And I play Animal Crossing. Does that make me any less of a person? No. Does anyone even care? I don't think so. And if they do, it doesn't matter, you know? Because at the end of the day, as far as I know, time keeps moving forward. You do not have forever. You better pick up that controller and get back to them games, because there will come a time when you can't. And we all know that. And it's been a long run. I mean, I've played a lot of games. And I've learned so many things through video games. And I feel like now is a turning point for me, because I'm realizing that all of these things culminate to make me who I am today, as a grown man sitting in front of you in this wonderful home with his wonderful family. And I have to say, if it wasn't for the inspiration of gaming, I don't think I would have ever gotten where I've gotten today. So make sure you play what you love. Just play what you love and have a good time. And if Shimado was still alive today, I guarantee we'll be playing some Final Fantasy VII. And we'll be talking about our material setup and how we're going to take down this boss and who's kicking whose ass and all of that. So rest in peace to my wonderful friend Shimado. You'll forever be missed. You'll forever be missed, and I will make sure I play all of them for you. Now, from here on out, I will be going back and talking about the visuals of games that have had a huge influence on me in the past, whether they be recent or a little older, because I have a backlog of games to talk about. So do me a favor, in the comment section below, write a memory associated with you and a Final Fantasy. It could be any Final Fantasy. And if you don't play Final Fantasy, any game, just write the memory. I just want to read them. It's helping me. Please, it's going to help somebody else, because when I read other people's memories, it reminds me of my memories. So please leave that in the comment section below. If you have no idea who I am, my name is Jabulani Ori, artist extraordinaire, and I love to talk about the visuals of things. You can find all my work over on my website, jahbu.com. I just released a painting titled Big Bang, and it kind of caused a little wave on Instagram, and I would like you guys to know that, because if you have been subscribed to this channel, you have literally seen the whole creation of the Big Bang. In fact, the painting to the left is what I'm currently working on. It's my current painting. If you're on social media, you can find me at JAHBU_art. That is on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and anything else. That's the only name I go by. Until next time, my wonderful people, leave suggestions in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. One love. Peace.